I'm assuming that nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about when I say Vosh. Vosh? I think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm assuming nobody knows what I'm talking about or who I'm talking about. And so I'll give you a quick catch up, yeah? Does that work? Does that make sense? We all happy? For me to do that. So I'm just making sure that these are not in the way. Your chat's too big. Let me fix chat. Jill O'Reilly has a near decade-long history viewer. Oh my God, you're a history viewer as well. I know too much about what you're talking about. Yeah, this is my problem. I have been consuming this content for a week straight. They've done like 2-3 hour episodes dedicated to this. I know way too much about this streamer that I never heard of before this week. And I also know way too much about words I didn't know the meaning of before this week. And I need to get it off my chest. If I don't get it off, I've been in the mirror talking to myself, making an argument as to why what he said is fucked up. And I'm like, I need to get this off my chest. I need to talk about it on the internet instead of on the in the freaking mirror like a weirdo. Okay. I tried talking about this to my partner. I had to give her a quiz. She's like, I haven't even tried talking to Alex about this. Can you imagine? Oh my God. I just have to spend so much time explaining terms that there's just no point. So I'm going to do a quick recap and we can go looking for the actual clips and stuff, but there's just a lot of talk that I just need to get off my chest first. And we can watch the clips if we want to actually react to the clips, but I know quite a lot about it just that I verbally, so I'm just gonna get into it, right? So Vosh Fox God, I'd actually forgotten about that element of it. So for anyone who doesn't know, everything I've learned, Jill O'Reilly says everything I've learned against Vosh is against my will. Everything I've learned, Jill O'Reilly says everything I've learned about Vosh is against my will. I fucking agree with you, and everything I've learned about subjects that I've learned about through Vosh this week has been against my will. I was an innocent woman a week ago, and now I'm aware of things on the internet that I wish I was not aware of. Anyways, so Vosh is a streamer, and please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but it's my understanding, right? Vosh is a streamer. And he went viral earlier this week, or, the guts of a week ago, because he accidentally showed a porn folder on his stream. And the way that he did it, or at least the way that he says it happened, was that he went to open an image by right-clicking, but he accidentally clicked Save As. And then the window popped up the most recent folder he'd saved something to, which happened to be his porn folder. Hilarious that there was a folder in the porn folder called taxes. I don't think they're really taxes. I think they're real bad porn is what I think. That's just my opinion. Allegedly. And so then the clip went viral because he kind of went whoa, and immediately ended his stream. So that was the first time that I had ever heard of Vosh when I saw that clip. And it's so quick that I didn't see anything, that I was like, oh, okay, another streamer fucking leaks their shit on stream, whatever. But people paused and people zoomed in and the stuff. Sorry, I'm laughing at George. I wish my taxes folder on my PC was filled with porn instead of all the numbers that make me cry. Oh God. Jill O'Reilly, it wasn't his porn folder, it was his to be sorted. He just hadn't sorted the porn yet. Oh, sorry, I thought there was a to be sorted folder within the porn folder. Okay, I don't know what the difference is, but he points that out for some reason. Oh, I have to be sorted folders I have never sorted and will never sort. I also have 2 backup folders. So when I transferred from one computer to the other, I threw everything on my desktop into a folder called to sort or something, or to back up, and I just transferred the whole folder and never looked at it ever again. Dan, is this the Pokemon dude again? No, I think that you were talking about, God, I can't remember his name, but I think you're talking about somebody different. I don't think this guy has ever called out Pokemon or had a public, that I know of, issue with Pokemon. So anyway, Matthew, that's a good question. Who in this day and age has a porn folder? That was actually one of my first thoughts. Like, you don't, in my opinion, okay, and like, listen, I wouldn't correct me if I were you and you disagree with this, but in my opinion, you don't have a porn folder unless your taste in porn is pretty specific and potentially hard to find. Because otherwise, why on earth wouldn't you just incognito window go to Pornhub anytime you wanted to? Because there's a lot of stuff on Pornhub and RedTube and other websites that I should also know the name of. Oops. That gave me away. There's other ones. I know other ones. There's YouPorn and there's Xhamster, and I know that one because somebody signed my email up to that as a joke once, and I thought it was animal stuff, and I got very worried, but it's not. It's actually nothing to do with hamsters. Anyways, so why would you need a porn folder? I actually just don't get it, unless your taste's pretty specific, or like you need to find stuff specifically, and you know what I'm saying? It takes you a bit of time. You want to know where they are. You need to go back. But I have to say, Claire, what if the internet goes down and I'm the holiest man alive? Okay, I didn't think of that. What if the internet goes down? I'll take it as an argument. Okay. Maybe porn folders aren't just for like specific interests. Maybe normal people can have porn folders. I still think it's unusual. Let's put it that way. Because like, yeah, the internet could go down. I know you're joking, but I'm actually thinking about this seriously now. The internet could go down, but also surely you'd still have your phone on data mode. If the internet goes down, what do you want me to do? Buy a magazine? Like some sort of game? Can men not use their imagination? And that's a facetious question because I know that you can't. But imagination works fine when there's no internet. So anyway, people see what's in his folder and people are like, yikes. And then people, I really don't know where to start with this. I suppose I'll tell you what's in the folder first. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but basically, sorry, you're cracking me up in the chat. It's making me really imagination.com.co.uk. Okay, so he has this porn folder, and what's in this porn folder is a couple of things. First of all, there's horse porn, which, okay, I mean, I've only ever watched horse porn in a reaction kind of way. One of the first YouTube videos I ever uploaded, and I only uploaded it on YouTube to share it with my classmates in college, was I recorded a group of us in college watching that video with Mr. X. You know the video, and I'm sure it's just a lore video, but there was this video going around of this guy who has sex with a horse, or rather the horse has sex with him, and then he dies, and it was called Horse Has Sex with Man, and Man has sex with a horse and later dies. Do you remember that? And he was like called Mr. X, and everyone was like, he died and he got ripped inside out. He got, like, all his organs got ripped and stuff. Not Mr. X, Mr. Hands. Oh, I thought it was Mr. X. Maybe I'm wrong. He had a documentary. Okay, so that's not shite, is it not? In recent years I've been like, oh, that was definitely shite. How did we fall for that? But yeah, so I recorded a group of us watching this video called Man Has Sex with a Horse and Later Dies, reacting to it, and then I put that on YouTube. So that was one of the first YouTube videos I ever made. So that's the only time I've ever come into contact with horse porn. I didn't think it was a real thing. I'll be totally honest. I thought that was like a shock video, like done for the internet, done for people to react to. Maybe that's me being super naive, but I did not think horse porn was an actual thing that people were into. But whatever. I mean, is it illegal? I think it is. But like, whatever. I mean, you know, I think it's more funny than anything. And people have been memeing and taking the piss, and I think that's well deserved. So, you know, it's funny. Like, not for me. And kind of weird. And I'd be like, ugh. Possibly not fierce interested in having sex with someone who's into that, but like, what? I'm not trying to kink shame, okay? Whatever. The problem with the porn folder, the big problem, is that there was drawn pictures of characters, it's my understanding, that were either very childlike or canonically children. So that's bad. And I've learned against my fucking will over the last week that that's called lolly. When you draw kids in that way. Ugh. Blah. Anyway. And so I thought it couldn't get any worse than horse porn. I was wrong. Yeah, you were. And actually, one of your comments there, I've had to allow the term bestiality to allow the comment. So hopefully that doesn't bite me in the arse in the future. So yeah, so that's bad. Oh, I didn't mean to do the horse sound. That was a joke. It wasn't a joke. It was just like I didn't think about what I was doing. I said, okay, moving on. So anyway, so people started digging up all these clips of Bosch talking about CP, and CP stands for the PRON of kids. And so they dug up all these clips of him talking about CP and talking about his opinions on CP. And that's what I want to talk about that. And the thing is that as a collective, it's really fucking weird. Like, I think that if you look at all the clips, this is one of his defenses is that one of his defenses is that sorry, just I'm laughing at the chat again. Hello, this is Twitch HQ. What the hell is happening? Horse porn for you, Clare, yay or nay? It's a definite nay, I'm afraid. Yeah, so look, he'd been called out apparently for these comments about CP previously, and one of his defenses is, I've talked about this before, I've been called out for this before, you're taking these clips out of context. Another one of his defenses is, everybody always knew I was into horse porn, it's not secret. So okay. Weird defense, but all right. And so in terms of I'll just touch on the horse stuff first because that's more lighthearted, and then we'll move into his comments about CP, right? So first of all, he was like, everybody knows that I'm into horse porn, and that's like not a secret. Okay, I don't really understand, right? And then people were digging up like comments in his Discord where he talks to his fans about horsecock. And I'm like, why would you talk to your followers about horse cock? Why would you talk to people who follow you about sex in general? About your porn preferences? I think that's a bit odd. It's incredibly familiar. So that, listen, again, possibly not illegal, but like very weird. And then what was his other thing? Oh yeah, it was like, So everybody knows I'm into horse porn, was one of them. I talk to my fans all the time about how much I like horse porn. It's not weird because when I watch horse porn or look at horse porn, I am the horse. That's what he said. He said, I want to be the horse in the horse porn. So I want to fuck a woman as a horse. That's not weird, is what he said. Which is an interesting defense. But here's where it gets weird. In one of the images, at least one of the images, the person that a horse is having sex with is not an adult. So then that begs the question, who are you in that scenario? You know? And again, it's drawn. I should just get that. It's not a picture. Like, it's not a photograph, thank God. But that begs that question. And then another defense was, well, when you're talking about that image, I thought it was a goblin. Because of the way goblins are traditionally drawn in porn. To which the H3 podcast pointed out, well, goblins are normally green, aren't they? So that's another interesting defense. But the thing that I wanted to talk about specifically was the clips that have been dug up of him talking about CP. Because there's an argument happening online. I've watched H3 respond to it for must be 7 hours now. 7 hours worth of content. 2, 3, at least 2, 3 or 4 hour episodes. And the argument that Vosh is putting forward is that the clips were taken out of context. Now, they watched the full clips, so I don't really understand that one personally. And then there are people who are defending him as well, who have jumped on board to defend him, who are kind of also saying the same thing. And I guess if I was to play devil's advocate, the only argument I could see where they're saying that it wasn't covered correctly or whatever is just there's a couple of instances in which Ethan maybe talked over him. And so those are the kind of ones that I want to discuss. So basically, and I'll look for the clips now, but see, the problem is if the clips are in compilations, those are the clips they're going to complain that are taken out of context. So it's a lose-lose situation, really, isn't it? So you can't fucking talk about it. But basically, so there'd been one argument. I do want to find it. I think we need to watch it. Oh my God, he released a video 19 hours ago, which is how long? 1 hour and 40 minutes. Damn. I want to find the clips here without people talking about it on top of it. I mean, it's going to end up being a compilation, isn't it? And then the issue is going to be that. Okay, I'll come back to it in a second because I can't really find it. But there was one clip where he was talking about authoritarianism and some other kind of authoritarianism, and he was comparing that. He was saying that in ACT authoritarianism, he was like, in this political belief system, these people would believe that because there are times in which a child can have a sexual relationship with an adult that turns out positive, then the act shouldn't be illegal because of that. Whereas I am a rule authoritarian, or whatever the name of that, the opposing political sphere was. And he said, and in this political sphere that I am a part of, I would believe that even though, and I'm pretty sure this is how he phrased it, I'm pretty sure he said, even though there are instances where it could be a positive, on the whole it's negative, so I think it shouldn't be allowed. And I think that's the only bit where Ethan, who would be the main commentator I've watched on this, spoke over Vosh a little bit, so people could be like, you didn't listen to the point he was making. But I still think Ethan was right in terms of, you still got to take that point from that sentence, even though he's saying that he is of the side of the political sphere that thinks it shouldn't be allowed because it's mostly bad. You still sort of have to take from that it doesn't seem to think it's all bad. Because if it was me, I would say I'm in a side of the political sphere where I think, or even if I did think it was ever okay, which I don't, but even if I did, I would still want it to be banned because it's mostly bad. Do you understand the difference there between act and rule utilitarianism? Thank you, Jill O'Reilly. Yeah, so he was saying act utilitarianism is where they're like, well, sometimes it's not bad. And the example he gave was CP. It was like, they were saying sometimes a child can have a sexual relationship with an adult that is positive, and so act utilitarians believe that, you know, it shouldn't be outright outlawed, whereas rule utilitarianists, which he is one of, think that because it's mostly bad, it still should be outlawed or banned or whatever, right? That's the one clip that they're kind of saying has been taken out of context. But I still get from that the point that he doesn't think it's 100% bad. Because again, if it was me, I'd say, even if I believed it wasn't 100% bad, which I do, I think it's 100% bad, but even if I didn't, and I probably, not gonna lie to you, I probably would have used a different example. Like, definitely would have used a different example. And then there are other clips coming out. Welcome, Wix Huxley. This is something to come in the middle of. I think Wisecrack has a video on it that probably explains it better than Vosh does. Oh, I'm going to check that out. Thank you so much. Excuse me. There are other clips that have been dug up where he's talking about how the clip that is being shared is him saying, I have yet to hear. First of all, actually, he starts the clip with, uncook your fucking liberal brains and listen to me say this with absolute clarity. So it's like that. He basically says something like that. And then he says, I have yet to hear a compelling moral or legal argument as to why CP should be illegal. That's what he said. And that's fucking crazy. And he's saying that, that was taken out of context, but I watched the full clip and the context was not that after he said that, he said, psych, or he said, is what I would say if I was insane, or, you know what I'm saying? So that is the only thing that would significantly change the context of that for me. And the clips that have been pulled out are of him making the point that we are ethically and morally inconsistent because people have products that have cobalt in them that probably use child slavery to be created, that people buy from fast fashion. You know, he's making a lot of like child slavery arguments and saying that owning a phone or owning something like that has created harm in the process of its production is not illegal. So it's kind of hypocritical, or at least inconsistent, for the production or the possession of CP, the possession in particular, to be illegal or immoral because everybody has an iPhone. And to that I say, sir, what? Excuse me, sir? Please step out of the vehicle. What the fuck? Like, here's the thing. Master debaters think being a hypocrite is the worst thing in the world. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. Because they really are convinced being a hypocrite is the worst thing in the world. Personally, I think being a pedo is worse. So if you're like, Claire, you're a fucking hypocrite because you have bought clothes from Shein and they have terrible labour practices, then I'm like, okay, I get that. Now, as an aside, I don't buy from Shein anymore. I bought from them once. But the point still stands that if you said, well, that makes you a fucking hypocrite, just because I own fast fashion, I'm not going to go out and acquire some CP. You know what I'm saying? To be like, well, at least now I'm consistent. What? And yeah, Jill O'Reilly, exactly. So he said something like, you've eaten chocolate. Chocolate is unethically produced a lot of the time. Okay, but it's possible to ethically produce chocolate and it's impossible to ethically produce CP. And I also want to add to this discussion that he, in the context of this argument, part of the point I believe he's making is that the possession of CP isn't immoral or shouldn't be illegal or whatever because it does no harm. Yes, it fucking does. You all right there? Is that Millie? Oh, I thought it was Alex coming in to be like, what is she shouting about? What is CP? Millie, hello. Go on, you can do it. I believe in you. Sit. Good girl. Mel, I love you. Love you. Love you. You okay? You're a good girl. Little smelly, to be honest. Why is Millie on fire? Millie, cover your eyes. Okay, sit down. Ooh, you're caught on the mic. Sit down. Sit. Good girl. Okay. So, where was I? Let me close the door because I feel like being overheard. Alex, what the fuck is she talking about? Alrighty then. Excuse me. Okay, where was I? So anyway. Where was I? Yes. Chocolate. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, wasn't he saying... Yeah, he was... So, Vosh, or my understanding from what he was saying, is that the possession of CP shouldn't be illegal or considered immoral because it doesn't do any further harm. And even if he wasn't saying it should or shouldn't, he was debating whether or not it should be, which pick something else to fucking debate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't debate things that you don't think are worthy of debate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one time I got invited to a debate about, I cannot remember what it was called. I must look exactly funny. I got invited to a debate about Miley Cyrus. And I was basically saying, like, Miley Cyrus is a slut, was the debate, in much more debatey language. And I emailed them back and basically told them to fuck off in much more debatey language. Where's this debate? I wonder, do I still have it in my emails? And oh, stop. Okay, this is a bit of an aside, but you actually will enjoy this, right? Invitation to speak at blah, I'm not gonna say it for you. Dear me, I am contacting you on behalf of this place in this college. Okay, I can't read a lot of this where they introduce themselves because you're going to know who they are. So how about this? We are currently organising a debate on the subject of sex culture in the music industry to take place on the 30th of January on the motion that this house regrets the rise of sexually promiscuous female pop stars. And so I said, what would speaking involve? A pre-debate address or participating in the debate? And then they said, in relation to speaking, what's involved is a 10-minute speech either for or against the motion. And there's a back and forth. And I was like, eventually I came back to them and I said, look, apologies for the delay. I briefly considered your invite upon first receipt of your email, but I decided that it would not be in my interest. Should you be stuck for a speaker on such short notice, feel free to read my email. I have a problem with the wording of the debate, which is the reason I will not be speaking. The word promiscuous is very morally loaded, in this case pejorative. Being sexually provocative and sexually promiscuous are two very different things, and to assume both Rihanna and Miley, who was up until recently engaged to her 4-year beau, are sexually promiscuous is both slut-shaming and skewing the debate. I have a problem with slut-shaming, so I cannot support the debate by appearing. I feel the motion is also misogynistic. Was there a Trinity debate entitled "This House Regrets the Rise of Sexually Promiscuous Male Sporting Stars" when Tiger Woods was caught sleeping with 18 women who were not his wife? This is an actual email I wrote. God, I'm good. I would think a more pertinent thing to be debating, if intending a feminist debate, is the rise of Robin Thicke's popular song Blurred Lines, which encourages R-word culture, or even the way in which many female stars are directed to act provocatively by the men that manage them. A regretful motion on the way many female stars have to act and dress provocatively in order to make money from a patriarchal society that both expects and shames this behaviour would have been a much better motion. I understand this debate is intended to be a discussion of feminism, but I feel that to discuss this motion will be slut-shaming under the guise of feminism. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it, but it is not something that I can support. And she never replied, which doesn't surprise me one bit. But so that was a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, that just proves my point, really, doesn't it? That you don't fucking debate shit that you think is morally repugnant, because it's not worth debating. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have shown up there and done a 10-minute speech against the motion, but I actually went, you know what, I'm not even going to fucking engage in the existence of this motion because I think it's so repugnant. And so, yeah, so basically then it's odd that whether or not it's his opinion, he even gets involved in debates about the morality of CP possession versus production. You know what I mean? And also, here's my take on that. And that idea that possession of CP could be less morally repugnant than production of CP. While I understand there are different levels of damage, his argument was based on the fact that people who produce CP make money off it, and people who own CP don't make money off it. But I'll give you the example of leaked nudes. Welcome, Ricky Manx, and thank you for subscribing. And this is a wild segment to jump in the middle of, but let's strap yourself in. So I'll give you the example of leaked nudes. When there was the fappening, as it was called, and all the celebrities' nudes were leaked. I'm tongue-tied today. And I was of the opinion, I still am, that everybody who looked at those nudes was sexually assaulting those people whose nudes were stolen. Because it was without their consent. Jennifer Lawrence didn't send her nudes, for some Joe Schmo to look at. They were stolen from her. And so that's my stance and my opinion. And I still believe that to this day. So therefore, that opinion of mine transfers when talking about, which I cannot believe is a fucking topic. But anyway, when even thinking about the idea that someone might think that possession of CP is fine. It is not. Like, that is everyone who possesses that. You can't ethically create that. It is video of R-wording, and you are watching an actual R-word and getting off on it. So, no, I don't think that it is moral in any way, and I don't think there's any way that you can spin it or argue it that it isn't immoral, and I can't really understand why you would even want to try and debate that, to be honest. And sorry, I'm just catching up with the chat here. I remember being told to debate against same-sex marriage in school. As a queer kid, I didn't need to hear my peers having that convo. Exactly. What the fuck? Like, we just don't need to be debating. It's not a debate topic. You know what I'm saying? People's human rights are not a debate topic. Fucking whether or not CP is immoral or not is not a debate topic. Like, just shut the fuck up about it, maybe. Gosh. You know what I'm saying? And like, to be like, oh, you eat chocolate or you own an iPhone, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. And to be like, well, you're a hypocrite otherwise. Okay, so I'm a hypocrite. Cool. Like, I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine with being a hypocrite, especially if my hypocrisy is accidental. Like, he's pointing out things like, you may have a phone that may have cobalt in it that may have been unethically sourced. How the fuck would I know that? Like, whereas you're looking at CP and you immediately know what you're looking at. So it's a totally different kettle of fish. Crazy. It's so there's been loads of clips of him debating this nonsense. And when you put that together with what leaked out of his folder, ooh, that's like, it was weird anyway. It was really weird that someone kept debating this topic and debated it with several people on, and there's lots of clips of it. But then when you put it together with what leaked out of his folder, and that's all we saw in that folder as well. So he right-clicked Save As and it opened a window and he immediately ended the stream. We didn't get to see what else was in that folder. Like, could there have been a scroll down? Could there have been more stuff? Is that only the most recent stuff? Was there worse stuff in the taxes folder? Is there worse stuff in a folder that has been sorted? Has there been porn sorted into, because it was to be sorted folder, has there been porn sorted into a porn folder? And is that really bad? Is that worse? Like, you know what I'm saying? So if that's all we saw, ooh, how bad is the stuff we didn't see? And so when you put that all together, you're like, yikes. You know what I'm saying? Saladin, consumption ownership of any CP is equal to the creation of it. I totally agree. Completely and undebatably horrific. I totally agree. And I think it's a total false equivalency to compare it to things like fast fashion or iPhones or cobalt. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what cobalt is. because those are things that people can do unintentionally. Those are things that people can do with, even if they know, like even if you know Shein is fast fashion and fast fashion is bad, you can so convince yourself that it isn't, or you can convince yourself that there are other factors that you have to, that you have no other choice. Like there's definitely an argument that was made online around Shein in particular about how they're very affordable, and for people who couldn't afford more expensive brands, that you shouldn't shame them for buying Shein because Shein were exposed as having really bad child labour practices. So there are like, you can also do it by accident. You may not have known what I'm saying, because remember Boohoo was exposed for really bad labour practices in 2020, I want to say, and before that people wouldn't have known that they were doing that, and so, especially because a lot of these companies make such a big deal about how progressive they are and how well they're paying people and how sustainable they are, blah blah blah. So there's every chance that people could support something that is problematic and that does cause harm in its production, and they could do it by accident, or they could do it out of ignorance, or they could know about it but not fully understand it, or there could be other factors involved that result in them doing it. But none of those arguments apply to CP. Not a single fucking one. Like, the fact that he's like, well, it's morally inconsistent, who gives a fuck? Like, if they made murder legal tomorrow, I wouldn't say, well, now it is morally inconsistent to allow CP, to not allow CP when you're going to allow murder. No, I'd be fine with CP still remaining illegal, thank you very much, even if we lived in a world where murder was legal. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why is, what's the debate? What? And then when you put it together with what leaked, and the goblin defense was so fucking funny. I'm sorry, I thought it was a goblin. Stop. It feels like the fast fashion and child labour stuff is systematic failure. Not that it's any less bad, but it's much harder for individuals to avoid. That is a very good point, Aoife. And it's a very... Cobalt is a company that makes power tools. I didn't think so. Cobalt is what I'm talking about. I think it's a mineral, isn't it? That's in things, like in iPhones. You may be taking the piss out of me. I don't know. You may be serious. I don't know. So to come back to your point, Eve, I think you're totally right. Like that, I agree that there's a systematic problem there as well. It's not like I'm going out and fucking, personally making something, getting like personally harming. That doesn't excuse you either at the same time. But I'm trying to say that I agree with what you're saying, that there's a systematic failure in play, because there's a lot of companies who do a lot of shady things, and they get away with it because it's legal, or because people don't know about it, and it is capitalism. And that is why they say things like there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, because, for example, to be a billionaire, you can't be a billionaire without stepping on someone else's neck. And like any billionaire. And I always jump to Jeff Bezos as my example because I can remember his name. But you don't. Jeff Bezos is a good example. Like, I love Amazon. I love how easy Amazon is to order from. But I'm also very aware that the employees don't make good pay. There's like countries where they're talking about not getting toilet breaks. And even though, like, here in Ireland, they might be like, oh, we pay them properly and like they get their proper breaks and stuff. I'm still like, it's still kind of messed up about supporting them when they don't do that in all the countries. And, America's meant to be bad as well. And like, but again, I'm not educated enough on it, but I do know that I want to kind of pull back on my support of things like that. And so where I can, I try to, Millie, stop. I got this window stuff for my window that like blurs your window, and it's actually really cool because when the sun shines through it, it goes all rainbow in here. Millie, stop. But I only have it on 2 panes. I need to put it. She caught a glimpse of a dog there out the other pane. But yeah, so sorry. What I'm saying is, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism across the board, because there's a lot of different ways in which people are exploited, be it slave labor or be it like not being treated properly as an employee, not being given the proper breaks, not being given annual leave, not being paid properly. There's no ethical consumption, at least next to no ethical consumption under capitalism, realistically. But that does not mean then that it's a free-for-all, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because there are different levels of unethicalness, you know? Like, to pull it away and use a different analogy, murder is illegal, right? I don't know if murder porn is illegal, but I'd be really happy if it was. And I'd be really fine with the possession of murder porn being illegal as well. Because you couldn't have murder porn without a murder, which is illegal. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand where Vosh is coming from here, and I can't get on board with it at all.